We are Steve and Jill.
Together, we've been buying and reselling land since the 90s.
Our data-centric approach leaves our buyers asking, how can you sell it so cheap?
Here on the Land Academy Show,
We answer that and more. I'm Stephen Jack Butala.
and I'm Jill DeWit, and this is the Land Academy Show.
This is episode number 2179. Today, Jill and I are talking about how to negotiate a better price without losing the land deal. And it's really interesting because Jill and I were just talking about this before we turned the camera on, and she said, who says negotiate?
Yeah, I don't play that game.
What kind of negotiation?
I might readjust my price when I get more information, but I'm not here to haggle. This
Yeah.
is not buying more shot glasses on vacation. You know what I mean? How many margarita sets do we all really need?
She was referring to Tijuana.
I am.
How many Tijuanas do we need?
How many Mexican blankets do I need? Every shop thinks you need to buy 5, apparently. I don't need that many.
This week, Jill and I are talking about odds and ends topics that I chose from a big list of topics that our producer gave me. And so
You called it the odds and ends week.
If you don't like the topics that we're talking
Confetti
about this
week.
you know who to blame? Me.
Yeah.
Each day on the show, we answer a question from our Land Academy member Discord forum. We take a deep dive into land-related topics by popular request.
I have to say I'm doing pretty well, by the way. My voice is hanging in there. So, okay. With your confetti topics. Let's see here. Garrison wrote, "Hey everyone, I'm looking for advice from those who've transitioned from a full-time job to being a full-time Land Academy investor. What steps did you handle yourself and which ones did you outsource? For example, I often use myself for work and might be on calls. Would it be worth outsourcing tasks like answering incoming calls until I grow my land investing business to full-time? Appreciate any insights." Yay. Welcome, Garrison. I'm glad you're here, and I love that you're already thinking like that.
Hey, I think you just need to brace yourself that for about 24 months, realistically, 18 to 24 months, maybe a little bit longer with a full-time job, that you're going to be running on a small number of hours of sleep per night.
It'll pay off.
And it'll if you do it correctly and you're into it, you're mentally into it, and you're bought into it and want the lifestyle change, it'll pay off in spades, like Jill said. But I don't think you should be outsourcing anything for the first 12 months.
Well, I would say one thing though. Someone doesn't even answer the phone live. I'll give you that. So you need, if you have to have a service to answer the calls while you're at your day job,
Yeah.
the ones that you can't take, I would do that. And if you really are on a budget, don't turn them on, for 3 months. You could turn them on from 9 to 5. You could even turn them on for when, if you don't get the call in the first 3 rings, they take the call, stuff like that. That would be ways to budget this and get it done, because you don't want to lose those deals.
So my advice to you is not so much about what you should outsource. Maybe Jill can handle that, or I guess she just did.
Yeah.
I would really rather see you and anybody else who is listening to this and who's brand new or considering doing this to have a real straight, honest conversation with yourself about what it's going to be like, how long it's going to take, and if you really want it. Truly, like I would take a piece of paper, or however you brainstorm with yourself, a piece of paper, maybe it's with your spouse, in Excel, which is how I do it. And seriously, write down all the stuff that you have very seriously succeeded at on one side. And then I would, on the other side, in its simplest form, the stuff that you think you've failed at. And then and at the same time, why? Well, I really succeeded as a young person in learning Chinese. Why? I don't know. I was into it. They offered it. By the time I was in 6th grade, I could speak it. But I'm not necessarily into it. Well, who knows? But you really need to have an honest. And so what we found, this is our 10th year now of being the ringleaders at Land Academy, is that people who come to us who can say, "Oh, I owned a restaurant, 3 restaurants." One guy in Career Path said, "I just sold all 3 of my restaurants. I didn't like it, but they were really successful." And so that tells me, geez, I can't imagine, for the record, owning 3 restaurants. I can't imagine owning one. And how hard that must be, how time consuming it is. You're dealing with a lot of members of the public, both as from an employee standpoint and a customer standpoint. Geez, if you made that work, this is a delight. It's a delight to do a couple of real estate deals a month.
Right.
And so it's all about you and from where you are coming to meet Land Academy or meet this new career. This is not easy.
Can I add to this?
Very profitable.
Okay, I'm gonna add to this, like, not only what that part you just said, but I'm talking about just the realistic stuff too. Like, getting started, if you're not an Excel pro, you're not a data person, you can outsource that like a la carte, and it might be worth your while. It really might. If it takes you 3 weeks to do this and it's taking away from other stuff and getting your business going, then I would use like offers to owners to help with the data and getting it ready for pricing and things like that. That's some stuff you can do. But overall though, like Jack said in the very, very beginning, you're kind of working 2 full-time jobs, and you don't.
Yeah, that's it.
And if you just get that one thing, like the little things you need to, you lean on and you ask the group like you are, and which is great, Garrison. Keep doing that. But you take on as much as you can yourself and learn it. And it might be in the evenings, it might be your lunch hour, it might be the 4 a.m. club. We still have lots of those going on in Land Academy. You get it done then, and you will get through it. And like we're saying too, if you can really commit to it, say no to a lot of stuff. Maybe you don't take as many trips or any trips. We've done that. Put your head down for 18 months to 2 years, and you come up for air and look at your bank balance, you're going to be really happy. Exactly.
This is a business that if you run it yourself, you can do very, very well. And once you know how to train other people to do the stuff you don't want to do, you can use, you leverage them, leverage them as sources of labor, or internally as employees.
On a side note, you said something about writing down things, successes and failures. I wrote down a few. Did you just do it? I wrote down, here's one of my successes. I like to say decorating and furniture shopping. One of my failures was getting Jack on board while I'm decorating and furniture shopping.
Where's this coming from?
I don't know. We're just having my girlfriends at the house and talking about that. So anyway, that just came to my mind.
There were multiple Jill's girlfriends here at our house for a few days. And
that would be why I'm hoarse. That'd be why I look a little worn, tired. That's why.
No one's as worn out as I am.
Oh, thanks.
All I did was listen. Today's topic: how to negotiate a better price without losing the land deal.
Okay, so here's the big picture. So if you've been listening to us for a while, you know that there's not like a negotiation thing. That's not really what we talk about. But sometimes there's a little bit of back and forth. Then I'm going to call them price adjustments, like the rest of everyone on Zillow and Realtor. They're calling them price adjustments, okay? Sometimes it's down and sometimes it's up. So, because my goal is not to get someone on the phone. My goal is not to send out an offer real high or real low, just to strike up a conversation and start negotiating. That's not this. So how we do this, and if you, like I said, if you've been listening for a while, you know this. If not, you're hearing it. Jack does a really good job of ahead of time putting our mailers together, picking these amazing areas where they're going to work, running these red, yellow, green tests and pitting zip codes against each other to pick the right areas for these offers to go out. And then he puts together amazing offers that the goal is when the person gets our letter, they have a beautiful page 1 talking about us. Page 2 is a purchase agreement that they can sign and send back, or take a picture of it, or fax it, or email it, whatever. Get it back to us. That's pretty much going to be a price that works for us. Now, however, sometimes it might be lower, and it makes sense than what I would pay. And sometimes it's higher than what I would make sense of what I'm going to pay. So that's not like, oh, yay, gloves on. Now we're negotiating like it's Tijuana. No, that's not what we're doing. Now it's like, okay, so how it works is when the person comes in, my first thing for everyone is, let's make sure they're on the same page with the price. If they're on the same page with the price, great. I'm gonna power forward, assuming that that's gonna be great. Because what's gonna happen next, by the way, is I'm gonna do my due diligence and confirm it all. So my first thing is get on the same page on that very first phone call with a number. And if it's not my number, what's their number? And then my conversation with them is finding more about the property. Why do you think it's worth more? Gosh, did you put a well in there? Is there something I didn't pick up on? What's going on? And then get that information and not just say, I'll get back to you with a higher price. Again, that's not what we do. Get their number. Like, all right, I hear you. You did this, this, and this. Yeah, it looks like the county didn't pick up on that. Whatever it is. Let me go look at it. Maybe it is worth more. Now I'm going to get back to you. So so I threw out a price. They give me a number back, and you cannot let them off the phone, by the way, until you get their number, period. Never play the game of I'm going to come back with a better number tomorrow, because you're down a negotiation spiral that is just a disaster. So you have to push them for a number. As crazy as it might be, get something out of them so you know where they're coming from. And then you're going to go, all right, now I need to know, where's the best number? How can I reach you tomorrow? Blah, blah, blah. And now I'm going to go do my work. So now I'm going to go back and look. And I'm going to see, maybe it does command a higher price. Maybe they did do something to the property that does command more, And like I've had stuff like it was in an unusual zoning that was a special equestrian area where everybody was, it did command a higher price. Nothing anyone could have picked up on. So I'm like, all right, so now, but that's what you're going to go do. You're going to go back, do your due diligence, check the numbers, double check everything, make all your calls, that you need to make sure with the county, fill in the blank, so you can come back with one last, run at this. And basically you're either going to say, you know what, I get it. Yeah, I can make that work. Or you're going to come back with, gosh, I'm so sorry. I really can't make that work. But here is my new number. And it might even be my new number is my old number. I can't come off of that. That's it. But that's it. That's the end of the thing. And if it doesn't work for them, because you did everything, now you've got the full picture. You had time to go look at the access, right? All the 8 A's. So you really feel good about it. You either feel good about your price, or you feel good about their price, or you have a new price. That's it. And they're either going to accept it, and you're going to proceed happily and open escrow that day, or you're just going to let it go. You're going to say, all right, well, here it is. I heard what you said. This is still my best price, and if anything changes, please hang on to my letter. I'll be here, let me know. Maybe we can work something out in the future and let it go. Because the last thing you're going to do, you're not going to overpay. Why would you overpay? That's the only other thing.
You're also not going to talk somebody into something that they don't want to do.
Yeah. And they may not be a real seller.
That should never be exactly. So negotiate shouldn't be in the title, but I put it in there so we can have this conversation.
Yeah.
I can tell you, you're listening to this podcast with people that have a huge depth of experience, Jill and I, for a reason. There's other land podcasts out there now with people who are much younger, possibly more entertaining. I don't know. But I'm a
maybe
big fan.
better looking.
There's nobody, for sure that. No one's out there saying that they did 16,000 deals.
True.
And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, because now I know the percentages. I know how this goes. I know before what's going to happen when I send a mailer out before I send it out. Jill and I have done about slightly over 16,000 transactions, 16,000 APNs we've purchased and sold. And I can tell you that the vast majority of those, above 90%, the deals that we made money on, you make your money in this business on the buy side. And the reason that we bought those properties so inexpensively is that the seller is experiencing a life event. And so when somebody's experiencing a life event, they thank you as soon as they get on the phone. Your letter came here, your offer came at a perfect time. What's the next step? They don't say, I got your letter for $28,000. Make it $50,000. And so that's a whole different, and then there's a crazy high percentage chance that you're not going to buy that property.
True.
So There are people in our group that are very successful, but they have to analyze every deal 16 different ways to Sunday. And then they will eventually, they get to the same place that Jill gets. Jill can spend a half hour and get a deal
2
done.
phone calls.
And some people it takes 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And but I'm just telling you right now, if somebody calls back and says $28,000 doesn't work, $50,000 does, you can say, thanks very much. 28 is what I'm willing to pay. And a predictable percentage of people will say, okay. About 5 to 10% will say, okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to sit on the phone for the rest of your life in this career, there's a chance you'll get into that 10% and maybe change somebody's mind. But the fact is, the number on the document that I've come up with or that you will come up with in your mailer is the price that it needs to be purchased at.
Well, that's the whole big point. The whole point in how we do things here is, I'm not haggling and wearing them down. Some people, I think that's their goal, to wear them down. You know, I've heard people doing that when they drive for dollars for houses. They almost wear them down, calling them and over again. I'm like, it's the weirdest thing. If they don't want to sell, they don't want to sell. So what I'm doing is, are you in a position that you need to sell? You want to sell? Yeah, I am. Now all we gotta do is agree on the price, and it just needs to be a great property, or I'm not gonna buy it. That's it. It's that simple.
Yep. And a material percentage of people that are listening to this are saying to themselves, no, it's not how it works.
It does
It's
work.
exactly how it works.
It does work that way.
And that won't change.
Yep.
What will change throughout this we're in the AI age now. It used to just be the information age. Now, geez, it's a whole different deal. We're in a hockey stick situation with how much technology you have in our lives. And I happen to think that's a good thing for the most part. And we basically embrace that. And so pay attention more to that and less with, in the end, I don't care how much technology you have, they're going to accept the number that you send them or not.
It's about that.
Join us tomorrow where Jill and I talk about the best and worst states for land buying right now. You are not alone in your real estate ambition. We are Jack and Jill. Information
And inspiration
to buy undervalued property.
We hope you find our content valuable and we appreciate your support. If you have not already, please check out our channel and hit the subscribe button.
And your comments and suggestions help us to create the content you're here for. Hitting the like button helps to support our channel's algorithm and gauge your interest for future shows.